Do-do-do-do-do. Hello, welcome to Melanin Mythos. We're all BIPOC world building podcast. I'm Andrew. Um, dare I say the host here?
There, of course, you are. You are.
I don't think it's a dare to say. I think you should just say.
uh,
Testify. You are the host, and
all right. Today we're gonna go over some world building prompts that people submitted, and you can submit your own world building podcast in the chat, and we'll try to knock them all out, get to them. And in addition, we're hoping to raise some money to, help me stay in my house. that that's the goal. And yeah, so let me pass it over to everybody else. Get everyone introduced. Send it over to you, Jojo.
sure. Hello, my friends. I'm JoJo. You can find me on the internet at JoJo Culturalist, where I usually am posting game updates. I am an anthropologist, a culturally trained anthropologist, and I use that in my storytelling. I help out at Apochromatic, and I am here, and I do charity shows, and I'm on Somebody's Heroes podcast. So I'm around, just playing games, trying to throw off the yoke of self in tabletop RPGs, I believe. Doing the best that we can do here in this space. And yeah, I would also, that's it. That's it.
Well, hi. I'm Dusty. Use they, he pronouns. I am here along for the ride. I'm not a host of Melanin Mythos. I am a guest here. Pretty common guest at this point, I would say. But glad to be here. I love world building. I do too many podcasts. Goblins and Gays, which is Pathfinder's second edition. If you love like Pathfinder and Sickos. Bring Your Own Mech, which is Lancer, and then Wavering Force. I'm all over. I also write games, usually about community and fighting fascists and doing genre stuff. Like so, games like Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters, or Trans Vampire Cowboys, or Dracula Owes You Money, which are all set actually in the same universe. Which fits because we're now doing world building. Segue.
Yeah, here we go. So we had people submit some world building prompts on our various social media stuff, so that we had something to kick the show off with. Oh yeah, it's me. I'm Andrew. I do so much stuff that is mostly this. uh, uh, yeah, but we got some world building prompts, uh, and yeah, we'll kick it off and see what we got in here. What do we feel like starting with? Anybody?
Well, you've got the list, bro. Read some. Pick one. What do you mean? What do you?
All right. Well, I mean, you have the list too. I sent it to you.
Yeah, but you're the holder of the list.
Yeah,
Oh,
I believe.
I have it in my hands.
Yes.
All right. Let me scroll through real quick and see. You know what? Let's start with the second one. It
Okay.
says NPC, a traveling warrior whose presence is both a blessing and a curse.
Oh, good. Okay. So, all right. So let's ground here. So we're world building this world of that NPC, or the NPC alone.
The NPC alone, but I think we need to context the world around the NPC.
Right. We would have to.
Yeah, because he's going to go places and people will know about it. So I think, yeah.
Both a blessing and a curse. Tough. Tough.
Mhm.
I feel, well, let's start with what we know. What are characters that would fall into that archetype? Something that comes to mind is like The Witcher, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, or it's like, oh yes, we need him, but also like that's obviously means that something horrible is happening, right?
There's like stuff like that. Like my mind is also going to like the superheroes stuff. Like for instance, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Um, they are there to protect New York City. However, just their very existence caused problems for New York City.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
You could say that with Batman too. That it's like you existing makes all these crazies come out.
well,
Yeah.
also Bruce Wayne's a billionaire, so that causes problems too.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Also, that's like the crux of like I think the second season of Daredevil. They're like
I believe
trying
it.
to because Daredevil exists. It's like the Punisher can exist and the other dude can exist. So they use that as a crux. Like you are doing this thing, so other people are gonna do bad stuff.
So now everyone's getting crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everyone's gone sicko.
Now everybody. So is that the world we want to put our guy in? A world where everyone's on the verge of crashing out?
Well, like it also like it depends what context are we doing warrior, because we're doing superheroes. Superheroes aren't necessarily warriors. But like for
Okay.
instance, we could do like to put another context in this kind of like my brain, like Goku is a traveling warrior.
Sure.
And he's a warrior trying to protect the earth and protect all that's good or what have you, and just find the strongest person, and inviting the strongest person in the galaxy to your small little town causes problems. So
Yeah, he'll also eat you out of house and home,
this is
or
true. This is
spends
true.
most of his time on other planets or dead. Like this is tough. This is tough. So, all right. So a warrior that is both a whose presence is what if we went a little more grounded in a society or like a culture. So like, or I think of like I'm trying to think of like harbingers in mythology,
Okay.
where it's like an ill omen. It's like I think that would be. I feel like there is symbolism like oh a storm is coming. It's like you can the smell. What if it's like a character that's like you can smell like when you can smell rain coming or a storm coming, you're like there's gonna be a tornado or a hurricane, or you can tell a character that gives that kind of aura, right?
Yeah,
I
like
think
I think someone like tied to I guess use the storm analogy, but we don't necessarily have to go there. But like someone who gets like things from distant place, and like the only time they have to come back in is like when it's storm season, you know, and like hurricanes, thunder and all that fun stuff is happening out there. So they bring all the supplies that they've gathered over their time traveling all the places. So it's like we're excited we get all this new stuff, but that means storms are coming to destroy everything.
that okay. That actually I'm thinking of two things here for this. This is actually sounding kind of cool. I'm thinking of two things. One thing is like the Davy Jones Pirates of the Caribbean, like you go away for 10 years and you can come back to land. But I was also thinking of this like culturally, I'm pretty sure. Oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure it is in Papua New Guinea, but there is a tribe of indigenous folks, and they uh, trade with each other like these ritualistic seashells that is like that confer a lot of status, and I think something to the edge of like getting supplies um, in time for a storm season. Like if you're an island people, I'm thinking like if you're an island people and you know that monsoons or large storms are coming, you have a certain amount of time in a year to go and get supplies to prepare for a monsoon season. In that way, someone who is transporting the goods and services in ways of superstition could be viewed as a person that's a blessing and a curse, because they're like coming back, here's the supplies, but at the same time it's like, oh no, this guy brought rain and devastation with them. Is another such interpretation, because a warrior could be, someone going out into the world, right?
That's to kind of jump on that. Like, if the storm is following them, is the storm caused by natural stuff, or is the storm caused by perhaps their reason they're out there is that they're being hunted by like a big creature that could control stuff? Because like this is our like I've never played Monster Hunter in my life, but it's giving me Monster Hunter vibes.
Oh, like okay, all right.
So like literally there is this giant creature that wants to just be left in nature, but is somehow connected to this warrior that goes out in the middle of nowhere, but needs to come back occasionally. And so they could protect the town from this creature, but this creature will cause devastation just from being in its whole existence.
Yeah, I'm kind of picturing like imagine like a seed, or like a bounty, or like uh something that would yield enough of a harvest, or supplies, and it's this sea creatures like bait. It's like they come in
Oh
like one,
yeah.
but it's like this it is the best uh juicy. I don't know what it would be. I'm picturing mentally like a root, or some kind of, but it could also be a creature's heart, or there's endless things this source of power could be, but it could
Uh-huh.
also be the thing that's like the sea creature's like tastiest morsel. And so when you bring it back across the trek, you are also bringing the creature with you as it's honing in on the bait. Ooh.
The bait could also just be another tinier creature
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
traveling with the warrior, and the warrior is protecting this creature, and in turn has to fight against this other thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
the
would
creature itself is the ring, and the big guy is Sauron.
arguably yes. Arguably
Arguably,
yes.
as someone
I,
who's seen
I, I
those
see.
movies once.
I see where you're going with it. I see where you're going with it. I am picking up what you're putting down. We are transporting our little cherub of sustainability and survival, uh, and the Leviathan Sauron of the Sea is like
Sauron of the Sea.
Sauron of the Sea is like hell. Yeah, that's juicy, juicy. I like it. I like it. I would play it. I would play it. I would play Sauron of the Sea wants the juicy juicy. I would play it.
That's so. This is actually the name of our next actual play. We're using Cortex Prime.
Yeah. I'd play it. I'd play it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Gotta
That's
protect
awesome.
this little guy.
But so tell what of our intrepid hero, I suppose, is like, so now we've contextualized the world, but we haven't talked about our actual NPC hero, because this is still an NPC, right? So so this is the fisherman, the boat traveler, the what is the word? Wayfarer, I believe is a word for it. Um where did they come from? What put them upon this path would be something to consider. um have they always been doing it, or is it a new guy every time, every ceremony?
Oh,
Ooh,
interesting.
a
It's a
coming of age.
mantle that gets passed.
That would be cool.
Ooh.
Um, a passing mantle is very fun, but it's something that like this creature, and also maybe something that the warrior has. Like I'm thinking warrior clearly. Like my brain is going like giant berserk style sword.
Okay,
But that's
okay.
not necessary. That's just something that like my brain's going, the tattered clothes, the cloak, something covering the face.
Warrior classic, like layered chainmail, sword, shield. You're
Okay.
thinking classic hero archetype.
I think that could fit in this world with
Mm.
Sauron of the Sea.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
Classic.
And if
Classic
we're
hero.
going classic, that means that maybe literally the armor that they have is what is giving them the power to like defend and be this warrior. And so this armor has survived many a battle, and when that person the warrior needs to pass on this mantle, it's literally a passing of the armor.
Yeah. So it's not like a every trip thing. It's when that person can't do the thing, they pass it on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Neat. But then where would the arm where what is the origin of the armor?
Who knows?
I must know. I want to know.
So there's like
Well, then
there's,
tell us. What's the origin of the
yeah,
armor?
kick it off.
yeah. I think the armor it should be something sick. Like okay, it should be something sick like a meteor. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with what I think of. Okay. Um in these Polynesian cultures, they you would have to part of the narrative, part of the value of these exchanges of seashells is the story of how deep you had to dive and the things you had to go through to retrieve these pieces. And so I think I'm thinking of like jumping into this is almost like Hercules in his 12 tasks era, like
Mm,
mental images. Like you got to jump in, the sea creatures down there. You got to scoop out, the pearl at the bottom of the abyss.
okay,
But
okay.
it's kind of like the armor is maybe a meteorite or I'm getting like if I'm picturing a meteorite like Your Name style hitting a place, right, a
Uh-huh.
big explosion of water, and in there from the heat of that some like you've seen like the volcanic resistant like slugs
Mm.
and sharks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And like that kind of informs that area or these like meteorite fire sea slugs. You got to pull them bitches out, and that's what you make the armor out of while fighting Leviathan the Maw Eater, like at the bottom of like that's where I'm at.
So
That's
so
what I.
now so now I this visage that's coming to me is kind of like what if the Green Knight was a mermaid?
What's the Green Knight?
The Green Knight is the
Oh,
movie
yeah.
is it Dev Patel?
Yeah. It's
Um it's
yeah.
an A24 film, if that gives you kind of like the vibe of it. The Green Knight itself is this knight that is like covered in moss and bark, and is someone that gives someone an omen to fight them, or they have to fight them in a year on Christmas. But
Oh,
they have this like this whole look of them of being made of tree and bark and moss and death, but instead of get that visage of like instead of embodying the forest and the nature and that it's embodying the ocean. So this meteorite has taken form of all these seashells
right,
and the
right.
slugs. So it's kind of like it almost looks like um my brain is going kind of like mosaic, but the mosaic is just a bunch of shells kind of formed together with this meteorite, and it's like this really wild looking like breastplate,
Yeah,
and like with the like sick ass like clamshell pauldrons that you'll see like if someone's trying to invoke Atlantis
yeah,
kind of that
yeah.
vibe.
I love it. I'm so into it. That's a cool ass NPC.
Yeah, yeah, their name's Fred. At least this version is named Fred.
this one's just a guy named Fred.
you know you
I
know
like it.
look,
I like it.
sometimes it's Luke, okay.
Yeah, and I think like they have like a cool title, right? Like the mantle has like a super cool title, but everyone that's held it just has like normal names.
Yeah, I mean, like not everyone could be Hercules the seventh finding the sick ass armor. Sometimes Fred finds it off a guy that's being plucked by like seagulls because he died on the beach. And the
I
little
like
cherub
it.
comes out and it's like, "Oh, you have the armor now. Yeah, got to protect me from
So
what?
I
Kingdom Hearts boss."
Okay, but check this out. I'm gonna thread us into another prompt here. Whoosh, whoosh.
Oh,
The stitching begins, the crocheting. Because we have another thing is, the sky is falling. It's been 50 years, and as per our last scene of creation, something fell out of the sky. Okay,
oh,
a
okay.
meteor. Okay, so now the question is, well, if something fell out of the sky, why? Question mark. What kind of world are we living in if the sky is falling and it's been 50 years since then?
Mm.
Let's see. If a meteorite fell, let's say this meteorite now, where in the past this was maybe the first sign, like hundreds of years ago. But then these meteorites started falling all over the place 50 years ago.
Oh, sure, sure.
So now, like these meteorites coming from, um, this like now, if the sky is falling, we're talking about meteorites. We need to consider like the galaxy of what this place resides in,
Yeah.
or are these meteorites coming from not even our own place? Is there something else happening? The sky is falling because there's an extra force opening portals, letting these meteorites come in.
Whoa, a portal from where?
A different planet that these meteorites are trying to destroy. And
Yeah.
this is that planet's defense. Is their only hope, not knowing what chaos they are causing. Um,
Whoa, so they are redirecting their demise onto us?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, well this took a turn. What is it? Okay, this okay. I look at the prompts in horror. I'm like, okay, well, what else we got? Uh, because here's the thing, I don't want this on this planet. But like, there's a prompt that's we live inside something else. It's alive. Now, now,
uh-huh.
I was playing Magic the Gathering not too long ago. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and one of the cards that I pulled was an astral dragon. All right,
Okay.
and it's like a big replicating dragon thing.
Not the dragon slayer.
Yeah, I've beat you up.
I was here for that
I
game and
I
I got
beat him up.
destroyed.
I beat him up with this astral dragon. But in Doctor Who, there's also like the star whale, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I am interested in the because if you there is a genre of dragon fiction of space dragons,
Mhm.
cosmic dragons. Um, and in these contexts, they're sometimes portrayed as nebula large, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be portrayed as great complex systems, and I think that's a kind of neat thought. What if we are passing through uh, asteroids or like fields of space? So we are inside the astral dragon that is moving through the cosmos, and the dragon is pulling us into Star Fox 64 asteroid belts.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. And so like everything that's living on it in comparison is microscopically small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And these asteroids, these are basically just like the asteroids are hitting this dragon and
and just passing through us.
just like
Yeah,
passing through, because like by the time they get here they'll be still be small.
yeah.
Okay, okay. So now this planet that has this
Whoa, I love
threat
it.
is now in. I was gonna shout out a show that I work on, but that would be huge spoilers. So I'm not. Listen to Comics and Games, maybe some of our stuff has cool dragons. Um, but yeah, okay, okay. So then the sky is falling. Literally, is that so? What if now consider all this that we're living inside the underside of a single scale of this dragon, and
Hmm.
so the sky is falling because the scale is getting old. It's going to molt.
No.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
No.
Are we a is our world ending? Is our scale
Well,
ending?
how else would you interpret the sky is falling?
I was just thinking of us passing through asteroid belts. You know,
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking of it in the literal sense of like abrasion. You know, just loose gravel set upon time and space, and we pass through it. Is the
But
buckshot of time and space.
if the scale is falling off, does that actually mean that we are dying? That the world is actually ending? Or is this now going to be exiting the dragon, floating off away in this nebula until it becomes its own thing? If this is a
Oh,
cosmos-sized dragon, one of
Yeah,
those scales, they're not just scales.
you're
yeah.
right. It won't. It would arguably, I would say, new dragon or new planet or
Galaxy.
sun or yeah, it could be any of those things, right? Galaxy would work. I
If
like
it gets
galaxy.
if it gets too far away from this dragon, the dragon moves light years away. It then kind of like repopulates and becomes the center of the universe, like the Earth was, as we
Yeah,
thought, around 700-800 years ago.
I
Um,
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sick shit. This is sick.
I'm into it. I'm into it. I would mess with this, dude. So then I guess with that being in the context, uh what would be creatures? I would say creatures, but I suppose peoples as well could also work. That would develop, you know, because in one hand it's very, we don't have to overanalyze it. On one hand it's very easy to say, okay, these individual galaxies are a part of cluster of this astral dragon and we move through time and space, and we could arguably leave it there. And it's like, okay, are there other astral dragons out, and do they fight? What happens if there's a fight?
Yeah, they
um
fight.
Hell,
Yeah.
obviously they fight, of
What do you
course
think the
they
Big
fight,
Bang was?
obviously they have to fight. But with that, I wonder, if the dragons themselves would inform the cultures that develop inside their scales. You are what you eat, question mark. Like, what's, I don't know, I think that's an interesting angle. Because
My
would they be microcosm or macrocosm inside the astral dragon? I think it's very interesting. It depends on their diet, perhaps. Perhaps a lot of iron planets makes for a hardy solar system.
iron planets. So this dragon is now eating planets like Galactus.
Yeah, it's big, like,
Interesting.
yeah. So like maybe that's just part of its diet, right?
And so my brain is almost going to that the civilizations and like cultures that are like, my brain is going to actual like culture, like bacteria and fungi, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that propagates. Because if we're that microcosmically small, that's probably how it all started.
Yeah.
We should have fungus bad guys. We should have space fungus is the worst kind of fungus. Like, I'm there's never been good space
Never been
There
fungus.
good
hasn't.
space fungus.
No.
Okay, there's never, those are the worst fungi. Okay, like, I'm so sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if there are, consider that there is like still like this normal culture and colonies of like, for the sake of like connecting it, they're humanoid. There's these weird creatures. There's like obviously the space leviathan, this weird cherub that Fred is protecting, and probably working together in like a sick anime montage. But every now and again this space fungi comes in almost like a creep, like a creeping death, like
Oh,
because we're talking about different worlds and all this, my brain's going Kingdom Hearts. So
yeah.
clearly, the space fungus are the heartless. They're shadows that kind of come in and consume everything and turn everything into more space fungi, and they need to be stopped.
Yeah.
And we need the space slug, like a leech, like one of the algae sucking fish, so they will stop eating our fucking plants. And boom, we need to get the fire slug to eat the space fungi.
Oh, and the little share we're carrying around is also something that could help destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the armor that we got from the meteorite in the bottom of the ocean is antimicrobial. So no fungus on you.
This is we actually just described the day of a white blood cell.
That's what we are. We're literally
we're just doing our best. Just one guy.
Have you seen those Moses Jones?
Yeah, that's
the dragon is Bill Murray.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're Melanin and Mythos.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh, that was funny. I like it. I'd play Osmosis Jones the Dragon. I'd do it. I'd be down.
Osmosis Jones, but make it fantasy. Sick. What's the name of this Astral Dragon?
Ooh. Wow, how are you gonna do that to us live on the internet?
That was rough.
What, you monster? Okay.
As long as he's voiced by Bill Murray, it's all be alright.
That's so funny. I think we'll call. I want it to just be like Big Mama for like BM, you know, like just not
Big Mama.
Big Mama. We'll call her BM, short for Bill Murray. It could be a thing.
What about MB?
MB.
Yeah, just like BM backwards because we're seeing it from the inside.
Yeah.
From the inside. Okay. Well, it could be something to the inside.
I guess I should follow that up with, does this thing have a name in a way that anything can understand?
Do you think it's ever like, hey, what the fuck's going on down there? Hey, did you guys just invent? Did you guys just invent nukes down there with the?
Hold on.
Is there religion now?
That would be so crazy.
If you are that big and contain that much power, I feel like you must know the capabilities of what you could do.
Like I suppose like, but maybe not necessarily, because there are you know, I think, what is the word? Symbiotic relationships with animals in the oceans. You know, like the animals, the whales and sharks, and they have the, you know, striped fish on their side, the attachments there. And so, like, I don't know, this dragon's just vibing, and barnacles, you know, on turtles, same kind of vibe, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And clearly space is the ocean of the universe, so
yeah, obviously.
that makes sense. Yeah,
no,
obviously.
Yeah,
obviously.
I feel like what would suck is like if the dragon, because I've seen barnacle removal videos on like sea turtles. They just crack them with like pliers and shit. Can you imagine Astral Dragon is just, you're gonna go in detailed like a car wash, and that is the world ending apocalypse of your barnacle is like tough day.
And through the car wash. It's over.
Destroyer of worlds in the visage of a cleaning brush.
It is Osmosis Jones. That's crazy. I love it. Brush your teeth, kids. Take your vitamins. Okay. If you haven't seen Osmosis Jones, look it up.
It's okay.
I mean, it's okay.
The concept is what's really important here.
Yeah.
Which I guess you could go to like,
because science is real, guys. Because science is real.
And fiction is fake, but science fiction is cool. It's real fake.
Yeah. I love it. Whoa, shit. I like it. That's fun. So, but who are we in this world? Because we've established, so now we've established lore. We are but a barnacle in the cosmos of life. Aside an astral dragon, we have an NPC on the small scale, and the bullshit that passes through our reality as we traverse through the cosmos. But this all implies NPC locations, whatever. Who are we? Who are we at the end of the day? That's what I want to know on Melanin Mythos. I want to talk about. Let me get it. Who are we when this? What do you look in the mirror? Who are we? Okay.
I do want to shout out to Amelia there in the chat. I know them. Shout out. I hope you like space stuff. And then Capricorn Eclipse asked, "Hi, what if the inhabitants use the dragon breath as fuel?" Which I think could also bring us into, if that's true, then who are we being able to find this dragon breath as fuel? Instead of fossil fuels, it's tonsil fuels.
I like it because in this sense, you would consider that an astral dragon is like what would be gases, right? It would be comprised of like I took
Methane.
yes, I took astronomy, but like 10 years ago, whatever. But there are gases in space, and so these gases could perhaps liquefy of like the different states, right? So maybe the dragonfire can be. I'm thinking like I just finished rewatching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood this month, and there's a point where the Philosopher's Stone can be interpreted as a liquid, right?
Okay.
So maybe so let him cook, right? Okay, all right. So maybe the dragonfire is bodies of celestial gas, and within the barnacles of ourselves,
this astral dragon
of the astral dragon, they can form into pools of kind of like like mercury is also liquid. Yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It could be a hyper deadly but incredible fuel source that's deadly liquid. Kind of cool.
So that also brings into like if the breath is like literally these gas in the space in the universe, like methane and stuff, gas could also at some point just become liquid. Like, that's just like the state of like matter. If we're assuming that if we're in an astral dragon that we're dealing with similar real life physics and science. So this could be a liquid, and it could be found like literally at the edges of this, if we are a microcosm of an astral dragon. But it's at the edges of this where people are digging and mining as you do, and find these pockets of gas. Some have liquefied just to like being in space. So some gas just turns to that. Some are like solid methane that smells like space, I guess.
Yeah.
What we'll be using the fuel for? We're kind of like already in this futuristic fantasy kind of deal with being in space and stuff, but like we have meteorites, we have cherubs, we have leviathans, we have people with sick ass armor. But what are we using fuel for? Fire? Machine technology?
What is the dragon fire for?
Fighting other dragons.
Well, that's for the creature. What do we use it for?
Maybe
fighting smaller dragons.
Yeah.
Fighting our
mini dragon.
We got mechs. That's what we use this fuel for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
we have mechs inside our barnacle cosmos. I'm with it.
I mean, if you have this fuel, you know what? Going back now, this armor is actually like a meteorite sentient mecha armor now.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Okay, all right. We are now moving into Neon Genesis Evangelion territory.
Dragon Guard, the Lancer universe, sentient, like
Okay.
bioengineered
No, no,
things.
no. I like this. We can move in a sci-fi kaiju direction. I,
Mm,
I'm feeling sci-fi kaiju. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the question, like, if we're the people that live on one of these places on this dragon, uh, and we're doing all this stuff to fight off dragons, like, what would happen if we discovered that, like, everything is actually just a dragon? Like,
There,
what would the effect of
What-
knowing
that-
that knowledge be?
I feel like that's like the end of like Attack on Titan was like they're all Titans, right? Like it's
Yeah,
I think that's
you
like
just reach
everyone.
an ultimate, like, oh,
Yeah,
we're just part of a dragon and we've been
that's
fighting them forever.
I
What
that
are we doing here?
I feel like that is
that's
something
perfect.
where the information of that is enough to like break your psyche.
Yeah.
So that is something that it's not necessarily like hidden, but like finding out you have to go through so much steps to like confirm this, and then you become kind of like crazed knowing this information.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so like you're now the hermit living inside one of these mountains because you know so much.
Do you okay? So in Dragonception, where we're
Dragon's
at,
uh-huh.
we're at it's all dragons, it's all Osmosis Jones, and these dragons that we've been fighting are in fact we are part of the dragons. And then I feel like that kind of moment is like the scale falling off a dragon. I feel like somebody having that moment would be due cause to, a new dragon is made, a new astral dragon. Or what would it take? Do astral dragons reproduce independently of us? Do they reproduce asexually? Do they have to, do they have to big bang? um
Shut up.
like this is I you know
So going back to what you were saying earlier about the scale falling and causes a new dragon, I think like instead of just a new universe, maybe it is self propagates with it because the only thing stopping from all these scales becoming new is that they're currently connected to a dragon,
Mm.
and so that's kind of stopping it. And so when it does create. I think it creates a new universe and thus more dragons in this
yeah,
universe.
I'm with that. And so in conclusion, dragon fire would be fuel for the sci-fi tech of our space fantasy.
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
because
like
yeah, I understand. I'm with it. What
yeah.
I guess the question, but if we have space now, well, the question now for me is if we have space mecha embedded within high fantasy,
Huh.
um I guess the question is, would we be able to, can we leave to another dragon? Are we able, as fleas upon a great beast, hop off Astral Dragon Blue onto Astral Dragon Red?
I
What would
mean,
that take? A new kind of Lost in Space, bro. That would be the worst.
well, it's kind of like to travel. Like, there's been stories about this being able to travel eons, literally hundreds of thousands of years, and you do cryo sleep. Like, so we have this fantasy technology. What it's doing from also just like Magitech. So these suits that we are able to use the technology and also the dragon's breath, which is a sick name for a vape, as the Apochromatic Unlimited person in the chat. Gotta find it. The dragon's breath creates like a, a if there's Magitech and there's mechas, and we can obviously do ships. And I think we could go into space, but because we're so tiny, even if we're in space, we wouldn't be able to tell we're a dragon unless
Sure.
we're literally light years away.
Unless
Unless
it's what we understand as dimensional hopping.
Oh,
fascinating. Is there light speed travel? Or is it literally just like blipping?
I think.
I feel like it's a
Ooh.
portal thing, right? Because we were talking about the other place, sort of like portaling in their meteors to get rid of them, so that they didn't get
We have
destroyed.
established that there are but then that was like then we transitioned to the dragon
Yeah, then
flying through asteroids.
yeah,
But both can be true. I would even prefer both be true.
yeah. It's like
I,
our section is getting berated by asteroids right now, and yours is not. So we portal our asteroids over there so that they don't destroy us, and then
Oh, and then to figure out, we send people through the portal. We think we're
yeah,
going into space, but we're going through the portal and end up in the other place.
yeah. That's
cool.
So yeah, dimensional hopping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We are dimensional dragon fleas. I like it. Very sexy. I like it.
And even like at that point, if we dimensional flop, like truly maybe all we could see of the dragon, because it's so, as we established, like a galaxy, the huge thing. From the other place, we finally see a giant eye in the sky, and that's what these
If it's
people
ever
are worried
looking
about.
at us, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
So
yeah.
the dragon is basically just this like sort of
Hey.
universe's eldritch horror.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's where we
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
so like now this is, you're like, you go through this portal that they're sending all these meteors to, because the dragon where this planet is now is aware of this planet and trying to, it's like, oh, this is like a worm or an ant, literally. I don't want it on me. Get it off. Let me send all these asteroids, which is
Yeah,
just me throwing shit at you.
it's scratching its belly. It's like you ever like rub up against the wall and you're like, you're trying to itch your back, you know? That's what I'm picturing. Is this guy's just flying through time and space and he's got an itch he can't scratch and he flies through a debris field and eradicates civilizations. I think that's
Yeah.
funny. I think it sucks, but I think it's funny.
Okay, I don't think this is a prompt, but I want to get to now. With all this established and being able to dimension hop and all this, who is the person that decides to try to kill this dragon?
Whoa, who would do that?
I mean, it's
Somebody.
literally someone committing to civilizations got destroyed. I'm going to kill God.
Whoa, so I never occurred to me that someone
Well,
would want to kill her.
now we're doing God Killer Astral Dragon. What is happening?
Look, it destroys civilizations with literally no thought
Yeah.
whatsoever. Someone's
Sure.
going to be angry at that. They survive.
Sure. A fair point. That what would that even take? Let's start there. What would it even take to kill? Let us consider the COVID pandemic. I'm kidding. Oh geez, but I think it's an interesting point. How, as a point of narrative, would such a small a pinprick, a grain of sand, compared to such a gargantuan beast? What genius do we have to do to kill such a great entity who is our host? We would have to, number one, escape when it's all, or not, but I guess we could escape to another dragon. We could dimension hop.
We could. It could be a matter of finding out that there are other dragons and using that dragon to destroy the one that we're from.
Right. Cause a big bang.
Yeah, just like kind of portaling over there and like coaxing that dragon into like colliding with this one.
I don't hate it. I'm into it. I kind of want there to be like a toxic gas. I want there to be like something like nitrogen or like I'm a big fan of in game mechanics of having to draw a creature or an entity into like a damaging ring or a vulnerability ring.
Dude, DOT, got you.
Yeah, so, something a little like that. I enjoy those kinds of bits. So like if I was trying to come up with a astral dragon god killing concept, and we've established that these is all support structures and we're a party, I think that would be interesting to try and compel this great creature to fall onto its own sword, like to get it with greed, to be like, or like, let's get, don't you want this system over here, and that system is full of nitrogen that freezes all of the dragon fire inside it, and then we all fall out of the sky, perpetuating the loop forever.
Or consider this: meteorites, we've already established, crashing to it creates this armor that becomes magitech, becomes a sick armor. But also, what if all these tiny things, the reason it's made it through so far into the scales, into where we live, because it's actually toxic, corrosive to this astral dragon? What if you don't need to bring this fight to the dragon, you bring the fight in the dragon? You go deeper. All you need to find is the heart and bring some of this corrosive metal.
Oh,
One grain of sand
Ooh.
into the dragon's keratoid system will fuck it up.
No way.
so now our armor person can kill the dragon.
Yes, that's their destiny.
Listen, our NPC has gone from just he went to go get supplies and he brought this thing back to I can kill the universe. Maximum
Bread
power.
has to do it.
And so 2.5 years later in the campaign, someone's gonna be somewhere going, and I grab the dragon's heart and the world ends. It's like
The thing is, like, unless we with this magitech find the technology / magic to also just make you bigger, you actually just need to go into the cells of this dragon, which the cells are going to be, planes, castles. They're bricked up like castles. So actually, the inside of this dragon, instead of being kind of like Final Fantasy, is now Castlevania.
I love
I
it.
did say brick up, Pando.
I love it. I love it. I'm into it. I'm very into it. I think I one of the things that I'm considering about this all is I'm reading the hold on. I'm seeing if I missed any of the prompts. I'm looking at this prompt here. It goes, do you think how a fictional world is perceived is greatly affected by the culture the audience comes from? And it's one of those things where like we've definitely gone in a direction, right? We've definitely gone in a direction. What I want to relate it to is what kind of stories so this is classic, almost kind of classic high fantasy. What kind of stories do we think we can tell in this setting? We have big high fantasy elements, world-ending apocalypses. Is this a story where you would think you would use a lot of darker game systems? Is there whimsy in a place for whimsy in a world like this?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
You could live on one of the other scales that's doing great. No
Okay.
asteroids.
What is the whimsy we may find in this context?
It depends. Like, I'm gonna break this with another question. Does the way that all the stuff works on one scale of this dragon, does everything apply to a scale on the other side of the dragon? Are like physics and science and fantasy like functionally the same?
Do the laws of physics and reality function the same per scale?
Because then, if it's a giant astral dragon, we could say that one side, a scale near its eye, like all the way up there, is gonna be a little more, I don't know, trippy, a little loopy or something. And so that makes it a little more like Alice in Wonderland kind of style.
Yeah, I would expect it almost to be like variations, shades of difference, because it's all part of the same creature, you would think, but certainly you would expect the scales by the eyes to be different than the scales by its wings.
Yeah, yeah.
You would expect that. I would expect that, I think. Um,
Yeah.
I knew this was
Okay.
going to do
This
this
is
when I
so
said when
much.
I brought this up. But like I was like, because then like that means that you could have an infinite kind of like version of stories you could tell, but you could say that they all kind of stem from the same dragon, if you would.
Yeah. So it's
So
like the multiverse concept, but you're just
kind of where
different
it's like,
scales.
yeah, it's like it's it's a little different, but kind of the same. Like this, the cell structure of each scale is going to be similar, but what's happening there, like the ocean that's present in the world with the meteorites and the magitech, is just going to be maybe in a different place. Instead of meteorites, it's a snowy a lot.
Yeah.
yeah, I I'm looking at another prompt here. I've thought about this kind of thing before, and I think this could be a cool transition to segue when it comes to settings and world building and the like. Um, Whenever you're building a setting, and I think a lot of storytellers end up in this vein somewhere in variations of this, is when you're telling a story and there are pre-existing established pieces of lore for monsters or things you want to reference. And so when building, how to go about building things that are different from accepted canon. So I'm gonna take a stab at this as an approach and what I do in kind of in my games. Um, Mind Flayers is obviously space astral sea squids,
Mhm.
and those are copyrighted by Wizards of the Coast, right? Um, However, if you want aberrant creatures, space squid alien creatures in your narrative without attributing it to Wizards of the Coast, there's nothing stopping you from, legally distinct mind flayers. The squids are their legs instead of their face, and I do that in my games when I want legally distinct mind flayers. Um, have you guys? So this is one approach where if I was playing the setting and I wanted to incorporate mind flayers, I think that's something along the lines that I would take, and that could be an interesting faction to introduce. Uh, as far as our space high fantasy odyssey is concerned, do you find that there is kind of like benefit or other examples that would work and taking things that have an accepted lore and flipping them as a parallel or an inverse, uh and how that might apply in this context?
Yeah, I think so. In my homebrew setting that I am working on, I think I don't know, on and off.
Mhm.
Dwarfs are made of crystal, and they're like naturally occurring crystals on the earth, and they're just sentient. And there's a lot of like the like mining and like various like forging things tied to dwarves, and I think I completely changed that whole dynamic when I was making them, uh, because I wanted them to be instead tethered to like the minerals and like things in the earth. And so the different cultures and different like sets of dwarfs are based on the minerals and things that are around them, and that's how they develop their sort of like what they do, how they behave, what they uh, is what minerals compose them because they're like crystal dwarfs, and I think it, there's
I
a there's a like I guess a sort of want to always keep like the inherent lore that we all have connectively through our like media that we've consumed. And I feel like a lot of times it like minimizes our ability to be creative in ways that are like out there and like different, because we're like, if I say dwarfs, you immediately think dwarfs and you have this concept
sure.
in your head. And so I can't fight that natural instinct that you have as the audience, but I feel like we can, and we can make new things and do different stuff. uh I guess that's where my stance on this prompt is.
I would be down with space crystal dwarves on the astral dragon setting. I think that sounds
That makes
awesome.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Uh, Dusty, what do you think? You something you would transpose over?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think of like bringing this question in is something that I personally think about a lot because I am a like when I design like games and also world building for like shows and like just like stories or things I'm running, is that I play with genre a lot. And I'm of the mind that genre could be everything and absolutely nothing to a story, because it brings in when you play in the genre, when you play in a science fantasy setting, you have this preconceived notion just by being in the world and consuming something like this for entertainment, for a creative output or some kind of that you have these preconceived notions, and using these words will kind of bring them into like dwarves. We have a preconceived notion of a dwarf, and then
Sure.
this crystalline dwarf that's kind of like flipping it on its head, that instead of the one that mines for stuff is the stuff that they are mined of. Um, and so I think bringing something like this, um, like you gotta think like going deep into my genre wells of like the games that I write, like cryptids and stuff like that. Like what are the cryptids of the universe? You could
Hmm.
say, oh, on this scale, Mothman is here. Not Mothmom, that's from Coppets and Gays. Mothman is here. What's Mothman? Oh, moths actually here on this planet are like these weird kind of like reptilian creatures that fly. And so you know you have this like almost like a flying snake, which is
Sure.
like
Sure.
pulling stuff from like Aztec culture and all that. And so, but like in that place, that is like a serpent. It's Quetzalcoatl or something. Here, it's Mothman. He's a snake. He flies. But that's how we bring about moths in this world. And so you have this preconceived notions like watch out for Mothman. And you're like, they're in the ocean over there. And like the reader or whoever's listening is like, what do you mean Mothman's in the ocean? He's in West Virginia.
I like it. I like it. I'm into it. I think that's a good point. So definitely feel free to creatively. It's like it's funny because I think that's such an interesting thing for about storytelling and world building. And on one hand, it's at least for me as a creator. Ooh, I've never said those words before. Ew, scrub this from the internet. Scrub this from the internet.
Nope.
Tech, pull the
JoJo is the
plug right
creator.
now. No. Okay. All right. So, but as something that's a creative hang up that I've had for years is like, am I just plagiarizing? Like, am I just taking my creative inspiration and riffing off that inspiration? And that's honestly why I don't put out what I think is content, is because we've all been inspired by something somewhere.
Mhm.
And so you could say that all art is derivative, which I think is perhaps a whole other conversation and a whole other
Yeah.
podcast. But still, it's the kind of things I think about. I think,
No, I mean, I get where that hang up comes from, because like when you are trying to be out here, especially we got to put this into the context of that we are living in 2025. There are
sure.
millennia of things that have come before us. This idea of this astral dragon, that life is on this dragon, that probably goes all the way back to ancient mythology. That we are living on a living thing already. Like Mother Gaia is actually a
Yeah,
dragon or something
sure.
of that kind of sort. But when we think about it, how we do it now, when you're world building, appreciating and taking stuff from where you've come from, because despite everything, you're still you. Um, I think that's Undertale. I've never played it. Uh, However, your context of how you are and what you create is going to be different than anything else that has ever been done. And so, bringing all these ideas into it, you could riff on it, and that's why I think it's so fun to play in genre and to play with preconceived notions, because the stories you want to tell with these preconceived notions, you could kind of flow into that if that's a story you want to do, as long as you're not rewriting word for word The Hobbit. I think you're creating new material, new stories, and so bringing that into this, like I don't think derivative is the right word. You could say inspired by, shaped by, molded by,
Yeah,
and these are the kind of things that you create. Um,
I love that.
with that being said, I think having Kingdom Hearts inside of this dragon would be sick.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
That kind
That
of goes into the whimsy, right? There's different worlds. One of these worlds is Atlantis. The other one is Midgard.
I like it. Initially, when we were drafting the concept, an hour ago, one of the first things I thought of with because when we started on the planet, when we were on just planet scale,
Yep.
diving into our sea of proving for our NPC, our
Fred.
speck of dust, Fred, in the cosmology, who's going to kill the astral dragon.
Yes, it will. That is their
Okay,
story. I'm writing this and running this
okay,
next year.
for Fred.
With Fred.
But I thought of Jorgun Mundir.
Yeah.
I think it's the Norse serpent that circles the world. And in a way, still, I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. This has
Yeah.
been I'd play it. The world is your oyster. Kill
That,
God.
that's a
Uh,
good name. The world is your oyster.
the world is your oyster. I. That's a wrap, bro. I would. That's the TTRPG system. The world is your oyster.
Dragons are actually called oysters in this setting.
I'm into it. I'm into it.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah. I'm hype. I didn't mean to rant for like 5 minutes, but
No, that's what we're doing. We're world building. We're world building.
Man.
Do you want to go to another question or prompt? I think we
Uh,
have. I think the world is your oyster. I think we could maybe keep that there. Otherwise, I think we'll go too big on this dragon.
yeah. Uh, yeah. So let's jump on to another one. So there are it's three here at the top. The first one is what sort of textiles are made here and by whom in not our dragon world.
I mean, if we want to go two instead of bigger, if we want to go smaller,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
would a textile be made of? And the place where Fred lives. What are textiles made where Fred lives?
I think I think the textiles will still be like indicative of uh whatever those planets are. But if we're gonna get fantasy with it, and we're using gases and substances as different building elements or elements of construction or fuel, I kind of am still in love with the idea of different gases manifesting as different materials in different microcosms. So, like, I'm not a chemist, but I think it would be cool to have like outfits or textiles of plutonium or something like that, you
Uh-huh.
know like in the vein of gas, of elements being able to be gas and liquid. I think in this kind of setting it would be interesting to have clothes the physical elements, physical textiles, as natural elements of the periodic table. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
That would be interesting because, like, you could also, like, if we're going on that, something like um, helium,
Hmm.
which is naturally occurring in space, would be like silk almost because
Something
it's
like that.
light, it's
Exactly.
airy. Well, there's not really a lot of air in there, but and like you could have like like there's water here, but the water that we mine slash gather for clothes is different.
I like
Like
it.
Mm.
hydrogen, you can make hydrogen boots, which is a sick sentence.
Hydrogen boots sounds pretty cool. Hydrogen boots sounds pretty cool. I'm into it. I do like it. What were the other other prompts?
A small city with orderly hexagonal motifs throughout.
Oh, okay, that still works with the dragon
Yeah.
because it's just like a city um, that's on one of the lines of the scales.
Ah, okay.
So like literally you're at the edge of the scale connected to another one, so it's kind of like hexagonal in shape.
Yeah.
And like that's like it's hexagonal, and because like if you were farming in here, that's just kind of how the lines in the ground work.
Oh,
Yeah.
that the natural groove lines of the soil or the dragon scales.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
What I think of
Like ley
is
lines
I was
too. Could
about
be
to say
cool.
ley
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah.
Literally that's what. And so the body of water is atop such a ley line that cooks the space slugs.
There you go. There you go. It all
Yeah.
goes back to these fucking slugs.
Yeah. All right. What is the last one that I have here up top? Is a gag item that was stolen and passed off as something it is not.
Ooh, interesting. A gag item in this place. I think I think the mythology of a dragon tooth would go super hard.
Yeah,
That would be so good. Yes.
and,
I
and
think
it's just absolutely not a dragon tooth because
I yeah, it's I imagine like a cosmic like splinter in its paw or something, like
Uh huh. Uh huh.
I'm thinking like a bad splinter from an asteroid belt or something, but it's like, you know, the
And
it,
it's a dragon tooth, and like it's supposed to give you the properties of a dragon withheld as a magic item, right? Really, it's just that it has like so much like radiation. You're
yeah.
getting irradiated and shooting lasers out your eyes.
There is a fully radioactive obelisk at the dragon's hind paw that is just turning the people really strange, really,
That's
really
where the
weird.
X-Men are actually.
That's where they crash out, is by the dragon's paw splinter.
Incredible.
I like it. That's interesting. And in a way that it could also put in a little bit of in-setting antagonism. Is like that could be an infection that spreads to other scales.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
which then we have space zombies. Okay,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I
That's
think
good
that's
shit.
pretty neat. Pretty neat. I'm into it. I like it. What kind of system can we play here? What do you think? Let's close that out. Who are we? What are we playing?
I Lancer comes to mind for sure
Say less.
Oh, cool.
because the mech suits, the marriage of sci-fi and it's a small amount of fantasy.
Eldritch horror for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eldritch Automata, maybe. I haven't
Oh
gotten a
yeah,
chance to
that could
play
be
it, but
cool.
I saw
Okay.
good things about it, so that looks pretty good.
I I'm going to Fabula Ultima.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm
nice.
going full JRPG on this.
Yeah.
Also, I've gotten Fabula Ultima is in the style of like Final Fantasy games, if you're unaware. I recently got to see it, but we didn't get to play. But I did look through the classes and the building of characters, and
Yeah,
that's probably pretty fun. That's probably pretty fun.
I think that would be super sick. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we should play it. Play the The world is your oyster. Is that what we said?
The world is
Yeah,
your oyster.
the
Oyster is
world is your
spelled
oyster.
fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The world is your oyster. TTRPG. Catch it on Melanin Mythos.
2026. We got you,
Yeah.
baby.
Boom.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've done the thing, so we should wrap here.
Sick.
Yeah, this has been fun. This has been great. I'll send it over to JoJo. Anything to outro? Anything to say? What you got?
Let's see. Yes, I do. This is live, not pre-recorded. So if you're seeing this later tonight on Apochromatic Unlimited, I will be running a CBR plus PNK Cyber plus Punk, which is an indie TTRPG add-on. I think by Cabinet of Curiosities, and it works off the, I believe it's Blades of the Dark.
I think it's a
World
14.
of Darkness.
Yeah.
I don't
I
remember
have
which
it
one.
somewhere on my shelf over there.
It is Blades in the Dark. It is in fact Blades in the Dark. I'll be playing that on Apochromatic Unlimited with wonderful guests for Indigenous Women's Rising, for Women's History Month. As our charity, we are in competition with Neon Lights Roleplay as a fundraiser for this, and they're whooping us. They're whooping us bad. So I'm throwing a game in this week and next week to try and catch up. We have a channel goal of $500, and I'm hopeful that we can get it across the 2 games. I'm going to be blasting socials, and that's going to be in about 4 hours at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can also catch me over on the Somebody's Heroes podcast, where I play Volkan Espiritu, the half-dwarven pugilist boxer. I also appear on That's Dicey, and you can see my character Shadia Shoal on Castleton that has just now ended. And I'm around. I'm around. If you see me posting, I have not yet died. I continue to persist. Please continue to put good into the world. That's my bit. I'll pass it over to Dusty.
Hi. Yeah, you could find me and all my rantings. Primarily Goblins and Gays with our current campaign, Tyrant of the Dark Star. If you like Eldritch Horror, Victorian, like Bloodborne era stuff, with a whole smattering of gay drama, check that out. Bring Your Own Mech. If you like Lancer, we are actually getting close to the end of our season 2 of that campaign. That's all.
No.
Lancer is very fun. Bring Your Own Mac has a special place in my heart. You should definitely check it out. It's one of my favorite shows that I'm part of. I also write games at From Dust to Dice. If you want to get stuff like Trans Vampire Cowboys, Dracula Owes You Money, That's Being Werewolf Crime Fighters, all that stuff, and get kind of the vibe of what I mean by playing in genre, you can check those games out there at From Dust to Dice.itch.io. And just find me at Dusty Hill yelling about how I want to start emo bands or something. I don't know. Andrew.
I'm Andrew. And yeah, you can find me here, Melanin Mythos, world building. I am also over on Pantsless Tables doing their Blaze in the Dark campaign. I play Arthur Arn. I'm a noble who wants to help out the people that get displaced. I am the, I guess, normal person in this show, which is fun. It has been fun because everyone else is uber chaotic, and I'm sort of the guy that comes in and is like, "What is happening here? What are we doing?" So that's been great. And then I do other stuff, but I don't have anything going on other than that right now. But just look for me, Ace who's a GM, pretty much everywhere. So it's been fun. It's been great. Thanks for coming. We've been Melanin Mythos. We're an all BIPOC world building podcast brought to you by Apochromatic Unlimited. And yeah, just tune in, stay here. We're going to build stuff.
Sick.